Hello and welcome to Family History Beginning Basics. This is going to be a series of 8 classes where we learn about family history and how to do family history, and maybe there will be some ideas of things that you haven't thought of before, even if you've been doing this for a long time. When we began the class, we watched this video, The Promised Blessings of Temple and Family History Work 2. This is the URL if you want to go and watch it. Afterwards, we talked about the blessings that were mentioned by our prophet and apostles about participating in family history and temple work. Let's go ahead and start talking about the genealogical charts and forms that we will be using when we participate in family history work. The first one is called a family tree or pedigree chart. You've probably seen this one on Family Search if you've looked at the fan chart view. The next one is a family group sheet where it gives us information about an individual family. And the third one is a research log that helps us track information on where we've been and what we found and what we haven't found. Here are some examples of what the family tree view looks like on Family Search. To the left, we have the fan chart. In the middle, we have what is called landscape. And on the right, we have a portrait view. So if you're using Family Search on your phone, you probably see the portrait view. But these are 3 views of the same thing, which is called the family tree or the pedigree chart. In the pedigree chart, there are some things that you can do. First of all, let's look at this pedigree chart. This is a fan chart, and it looks like a fan, and it has rows, I guess you would call it, and beginning with a circle in the middle. And when we look at a chart in this fashion, the first circle in the middle is one generation. And usually when we look at our own, we are the first person, and we would be the first generation. Then the parents are the second generation. So the parents are right next to the circle. And then we have grandparents, the outer one, and then great grandparents and so forth. So this particular fan chart includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in some cases, 7 generations of a family. Now, if you look on the right side of the screen, you can see there are some different options to see this pedigree chart or fan chart. We showed you what they looked like on the screen before. You have landscape, portrait. We're currently on the fan chart view. And if you look at the left side, we actually have a color-coded legend that gives you information on what's going on in the tree. You can see that much of this particular tree is white. However, we do see blue and red, and even purple in places. So the red means that there are data problems. This means that there could be an error or information that just really doesn't make sense. So you would have to look at that each one individually and see if you can make sense of it or correct the information. Blue means that there is a record hint that likely connects to that person. You again will have to look at each one individually to determine whether or not that works. And then the purple are some research suggestions. So they don't have any hints for you, but they may have suggestions. For example, maybe the computer has done some work in the background and thinks that it looks like there might be a missing child. So it would give a suggestion like that. Okay, the family group view. Now this is when you select a person on your fan chart, you go to their details page or their person page, and this is the details tab. The first information you see here are the vital information, which includes birth, christening, death, burial. And below that, there is a section called family members. Scroll down to that portion and you will see that here we have Gertrude Hamstreet as an adult married with her husband and children. And then to the right side, we have her listed as a child in a family with her siblings and parents. To the right of that, we have an option. We have several things on this sidebar, but I want to draw your attention to the print option. It says pedigree, portrait pedigree, fan chart, family, and family with sources. In another class, we will look at printing out this family view. If you do that, this is what it looks like. This shows information on the particular family. This is a family group record or family group sheet. Here at the top, we have information about the husband, followed by the wife, and then it lists children in birth order. This gives us details about each person in that family. So information about one family unit. This is a pedigree chart. You can also print it from that area on the right side of the menu. This pedigree chart shows multiple generations, beginning with Gertrude. She is the main person here. And then we have her parents, Christian and Tira, followed by her grandparents, and then her great-grandparents. So this pedigree chart contains 1, 2, 3, 4 generations. And the pedigree chart does not show complete families, but it shows a direct ancestral line. And each couple, so here we have Christian and we have Jensine, each couple, you should be able to look at a family group record or a family group sheet to see details about their families. Okay, as we use family search in any of these forms, we need to use the correct genealogical format for names, dates, and places. Now, names, we always spell out names unless the name, for example, a middle name is just a middle initial and not a name itself. But if there's a name, we always spell it out and we write them in the order that we would say them. So in this case, we have James Edward Thomas. So we would write it in that order. For women, they always use their maiden surname, and their maiden surname is the surname they were born with. So they will not use their married name when we're filling out these forms or on Family Search. We do not add Mr. or Mrs., Captain, Junior, Senior as part of the name. There are fields in prefix and suffix that can be used for those, but in the name field, we always just want to have the name. And something I want to bring up here is it's really important to always have a first name, if at all possible. Part of doing temple work, there are 4 pieces. You need a name, a gender, a place of an event, and a date for an event. So when it comes to the name, we really need a first name. So if you don't have a first name and there are records available, wait to do the temple work until you have that first name. Okay, genealogical dates are written out beginning with the day, the month, and the year. And on Family Search, we always want to spell out the month. Now, we do not do it in any other format because some of these other formats could be confusing, especially crossing languages or cultures. We want to make sure that the information we provide is very clear. And so this is why we do the day, the month, and the year. Now, places. We always begin with the smallest place. And in the case of, let's say, Spanish Fork would be the name of the city. Then we would have the county, and here it would be Utah County. And then we would have the state, Utah, and the country, United States. We never use the postal codes or the abbreviations for the states. We always spell them out. And we always want to write the event, the place of the event, as it was when the event occurred. So if there's a historic name of that place, but then there's also a modern name, make sure that you write the name as it was when the event occurred. So if it was a birth, make sure it's the name of what that place was called at the time of the birth. If you are putting information together for another country, you do the same thing. It may not have the same kinds of jurisdictions like county and state, but it may have a district, it may have a province, but make sure you include from the smallest to the largest. Now, here's an example of each of these in the correct genealogical format. We have the name, first, middle, and last. We have the date, the day, month, and year, and we have the place, the town or city, the county, the state, and the country. Now, actually going back here, beginning with this information, you can actually go into Family Search and start standardizing the names, dates, and places. Even without doing research, you could probably see if there are abbreviations in the date or in abbreviations in the place. You can just go in and work on making those changes. Okay, so the next chart we want to talk about is the research log. Now, I have an example here of a research log that was made in a Word document with a table. I use electronic research logs now. I used to use paper research logs. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but you should do it. And I find that electronic research logs are easier to keep track of and to update. So this research log has 4 columns. The first column, actually, let me bring your attention to the top. There's a research objective. So you may have multiple research logs. You may have a research log for every person or for every family or for every problem within a family, a research problem you're working on. So an objective at the top gives you information about who this research log is about. And in this one, the example is Caroline Smith. And I write down the information that I know about her at this time when I'm starting. Then as we look at the columns on the research log, the first one is the source location website. Most of the research you're going to do initially will probably be online. And so there will be websites listed here under that location. And I don't usually like to put complete URLs. I just like the website URL because complete URLs change over time. But if we put enough information within our research log that we can actually find it, even if the URL changes, that's kind of our goal. Enough information that someone else can find it if they're looking and trying to follow our steps. The next column are the source collection details. So this is the location inside that website that you searched. So here the first one is Family Search, and then I was at Family Tree. I'm actually on the page of Carolina Smith, and I have her personal ID number from Family Search. So with that information, someone else can get to her. This is the information I started with under the search or goal. And then I wrote some comments about what I found, or if you don't find anything, you write it here. There are 3 sources attached to this woman: the 1860 census, the 1850, and a find a grave entry. The next site I went to is over here, and this is the location, a page for Smith spelled different ways. And this is what I found on that page. And then after looking at it closely, I found out that I don't think that either of these ladies listed is the right person. Next, I went to Ancestry, looked at their public member trees, and I was interested in this particular tree, the Lasby family tree. And these are the sources attached to the person on that tree. Now, this is the kind of thing you would do. Of course, there would be lots more entries in this, but this will help you keep track of what you're doing and what you found and what you didn't find. Here's another research log that one of my friends put together. It has more columns, but I would suggest create one that works for you. This one has a date column. She does have an objective at the top, a website, a URL. So if you do want to have that complete URL, you can put it in. She has information of what she's looking for and the location. And here's the source citation. She actually gives a very complete citation. And then here's her results of what she found or did not find. Okay, let's go back to Family Search. We're back at Gertrude Christensen, and she has a hint that says Ham Street, and it's the 1950 census. So anytime you have a hint under this section in research help, it's going to be this kind of light blue color. Go ahead and review and attach, or at least click the review and attach button. And it's okay, just because you click that button doesn't mean you've attached it. This is the process you have to go through to actually look at the record. So click that review and attach, and you'll get a screen that looks similar to this. On the right side is information about what's on Family Search about this person. On the left side is information that was indexed, and it was from a record. In this case, it was from the 1950 census. And if I believe that this represents my person, even if the information is not fully correct, but if it represents my person, I want to attach it to my person on Family Search. So if I want to attach, I can click the add button, and this information will go over onto Family Search. Now, what if you can't tell if this really represents the right person? Now, I think it's always a good idea to go to the record and actually take a look at it. So you can click on the record there and take a look. It brings us to this page where we see the information that was indexed, and we see the actual original document. Here's a button. Click or view the original document. That's what we want to do. And here I am looking at this document. I can see that here she is, and this is her husband up here, Roger. Ham Street. This is Gertrude, and we have some children, Judith, Robert, and Roger. So that looks right to me. If it looks right, I can go back and click that add button. And then I want to click, I want to actually fill something in here for the reason for attaching the source. And that might be, this is the correct family. This provides evidence. Any reason that you're attaching it, you can put it there. And then click the blue attach button. Now, if you actually looked at the record and you determined that this is not the right person, that this record does not represent the right person, then click the not a match button. If you fail to click not a match, it will continue to show up as a hint on your person. So if you've determined that is not the correct person, click not a match, and then no one else will be confused by that hint. Okay, here's an example. I've decided to move that 1950 information over, and it shows green. I've put information and my reason to attach the source, and then I click attach. Once you've attached something, it looks green. And even after you've attached something, if you've determined that you made a mistake, it's very easy to detach something. Just click the detach button and it will undo. So you can fix anything you mess up, so don't worry too much. Now you can see there are others here that have a compare and then a paperclip. You can compare and attach each of those as well. In a 1950 census, it shows people as families. And so it's common to have, when you find a record for one person, that you will also find other family members on that record. Now, sometimes it happens that the person that is set up to be attached, for example, this person, this is the right person, Roger to Roger. However, sometimes there are other spouses, and this arrow over here, this little triangle mark or hatch mark here, if you click on that and there were other spouses, it will show you the other spouses. So if this was not the right person and there was another spouse, you can click here and choose the right spouse so that you're attaching the right record to the right person. Sometimes other people appear on the record below here. If you can identify where they fit in the family, you can pull them up and put them in the correct location. Okay, this is what happens when we attach the record. And I don't know if you noticed, when we looked at the record, there was actually another child, Roger Allen or Roger A on the record that appeared but doesn't appear here. And that's something we can fix by going back to the record. And I may show you that another time. Here, I would like you to go and look at the source area. Let's say you have a source at home that is a marriage certificate or an obituary, another document that could be a source. So this is a source that you did not find online, but you had at home. So go ahead and go to sources and click on that. It will open up and you should see the sources appear in chronological order. And everything's attached, but in this example, we have a couple that say unfinished attachments. Go ahead and examine those unfinished attachments by clicking here. Here we see that these people, it was all attached to, but once I opened up this area for the parents, this was not attached. And you see that it's trying to attach this person. This is listed as a male, Tira, it's trying to attach it to Christian, who is a male. But if you look closely, Tira is actually a female. So there was an error in the record in transcribing or putting that information in. And so this is not the right way. I do not want to attach this to that. I don't want to attach Tira to Christian. So I can actually go to the record and do an edit, and I could change the information here on the record. Here we have the record down here where it says male, and that's how you would go about editing the record. Okay, let's go back. Here we have sources again. Let's say again, like I said before, that you want to add a source that you have at home, an obituary, a marriage record. Do add a source, add a new source. And it will give you a form to fill out like this. Lots of information. They want you to have a date so they can line up the sources in the chronological order, a place. And it would probably upload under memory because this would be an image you would upload. Or here's the example of having it on another site. Then you would fill in, we have prompts here on what you might put in here, where the record was found, the citation, and then maybe a transcription of the record here in the describe the record. You can then at the bottom select any of these options, name, sex, birth, christening, death, burial. If anything in that record gives information about any of those, you can go ahead and check them and then save. Okay, as you're making a citation, which is what we were doing in the last portion, again, include enough information that someone else can find what you were looking for by looking at your citation. There are 4 basic things that you should include. The first one is a title. The next one is the collection. Then the repository, which is the website, and details. And so here we have an example. Let's say I have the birth certificate for Sarah Mullen, dated 29th of March, 1894. And the collection was Virginia birth records, and I have a date range here. It was found on Family Search, and I put the date that I accessed it. Then it's the certificate number 1894-3046, image number 4905. So that should be enough information that someone else could find it. Okay, let's say that I was using the information on Family Search actually, and I'm making that a source. Here we have Clara Adeline Peterson, and here's her personal ID number. We're on the details page looking at the vitals section. And so to the side here, you can see I've made a citation including all of that information. So somebody could get specifically to the location that I was looking at. Okay, another thing that you can do on Family Search is merge duplicates. Usually there will be a hint here on the side, not a hint, but a indication that there might be a possible duplicate. On this particular person, there is not, but if you find that, It's trying to tell you there are two records that look similar, two people within the database that look similar, and it wants you to compare them. If you already know that there's somebody in the database that looks similar, you can scroll down, and down here will be a section under tools that you could actually merge by ID if you have the ID number of the other person that is the duplicate. Again, if there was a possible duplicate, it would show up here and you could click there and make a comparison. Now, as you merge two people, they need to represent the same person. The information doesn't need to be perfect on what you're merging into the person, but it needs to represent the person. Okay, so here are some things that you can do on Family Search. You can standardize names, dates, and places. You can attach sources, that's the hints, or you can attach some source documents that you may have at home, upload those. And you can merge duplicates. Those are three things you can now do before you even begin any research. And now's time for questions. And then we do have some homework for this next week. I want you to standardize names, dates, and places on FamilySearch.org. Look at your family tree, your fan chart, and see if they're in the correct format. Attach sources when there are hints. Go ahead and look at each record and merge duplicates when needed. And then for the big assignment is create an electronic research log that you can use in the future.